Certainly has. Firstly, hello to you, Adam.
Hello, Cameron. Let's get straight into it. Brad Scott, how long's he going to last?
Well, he's going to
Is it a week? Is it mid-season? Is it tomorrow? Will he coach this weekend? Is he gone? What's happening?
Reports are that he's going to coach one more game. It's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be a split that both parties are happy with, and they're probably working out the financial ramifications of it, considering he is contracted until the end of 2020. But the murmurings have been around for a little while. North Melbourne haven't had a really good year, as we know. And, of course, last Saturday night they were deplorable in the first half. And if you have a look at this, it was really Mark Robinson from the Herald Sun. It's over. And that's pretty telling. And then it's just gained a fair bit of momentum there. As we go to air now, it seems like that tomorrow will be Brad Scott's last game as the North Melbourne coach. David King, obviously a premiership player at the North Melbourne Footy Club on SEN Radio only an hour or so ago, doesn't like the timing of it. He doesn't understand why they're allowing it to fester over the weekend, have one last game. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, but he's saying, how do you stand up in front of the players? And I'll ask you that question in a moment and implore you to give me everything you've got, knowing that in 48 minutes you may no longer be the coach. And Nick Del Santo, who has got, of course, teammates and friends of the football club, has said that in the last 20 minutes, so that was about just after 6 o'clock on SEN Radio, so I'll say at about 5:30, there were teammates or there were North Melbourne players who are unaware of this breaking story. We'll start with your thoughts on it first.
Well, it's interesting that the timing thing, I think, is the most perplexing out of this. Friday afternoon, at about 6 o'clock, it comes out that the coach is going to part ways with his footy club. Now, if they had been in discussions about this all week, and we know that stories leak, it happens all the time. So, but if it was to be his last game this weekend, surely they would have announced it earlier in the week. Give the fans some time, get everyone to the ground, and then see him off. If it was his last game and they weren't going to tell anyone until after the game, that's as astonishing as anything in all of this. So you can't, obviously, because this story has broken, they must have met again and said, look, this is blown up. We were trying to keep it quiet for as long as we can. It's going to have to be your last game this weekend. Or Brad Scott has said, look, and this is coaches might, at the time, he may have said, look, I'm happy to coach till the mid-season and then I'll leave. When it comes to light and everything becomes public, and maybe he said, well, hang on, I'm out of here. I'm not going to be the coach going forward. Let's work this out and I'm out.
I don't think it's a ladder. Hashtag Armchair Experts to get involved at 7AFL. North Melbourne are going to have a new coach. North Melbourne are definitely going to have a new coach in 2020. Who should it be? And there's obviously plenty of former shin boners who right now are coaching in the league, and there are some getting around. We'll get to that, of course.
Love for a Crocker.
Darren Crocker was the interim coach has done a little bit of it in the past.
See, he'll be under pressure as well, Darren Crocker, because he's part of the current coaching setup and has been for a long time.
Firstly, I couldn't agree any more with David King. Like, if you want Brad Scott to be gone, even if he's accepting of the situation and it's mutual, just pull the Band-Aid off. It's just a weird feeling. People who are going to the game tomorrow, North Melbourne, and even Bulldog players and fans who go to Marvel Stadium tomorrow are going to be thinking, this is such a weird feeling. And because you officially, and we may know it, I guess, by the bounce tomorrow. I think Brad Scott's doing a radio appearance tomorrow on 3AW, but we'll know tomorrow by the bounce if, in fact, it's going to be his last game, I'd assume officially. But if you don't, it's going to be weird. What I'll say, though, and I've said this the whole time, they've had a horrible year. And what they've been looked after by, every time they've played incredibly bad, someone else has played worse. Okay?
They've been looked after by Carlton or St Kilda.
But last year, this is where I don't 100% agree with the decision, because last year, everyone thought they were going to be bad last year.
Well, they haven't been that bad.
They haven't been that. Brad Scott has got them to 2 prelims, coached a team last year with no real talent. And that's not just, all right, not an amazing list. I don't want to say there's no real talent, but not an amazing list.
Spot on.
And there's an argument to suggest, in fact, I'd even argue there is no argument, that Carlton have a better list than North Melbourne. Brad Scott did a wonderful job last year, and now the feeling is that he can't coach when we're 10 rounds into this. I said this a month ago when you and I spoke about North Melbourne. The issue for me isn't the coach. It's their inability as a club to get superstar players, to attract players to your footy club.
Yeah, there's such a huge
Kelly,
list.
Those guys. And then they went out and got paid. So Brad Scott's not the only guy that's going to lose his job here. He might be the only one who mutually steps down.
You're spot on.
But they're all going to go.
Yeah, well, and his current coaching staff will be under the pump as well. I think the former list manager now heading up the footy department, Cameron Joyce, there'll be discussions about him as well. It's their recruiting again. So they couldn't get the A graders. They got a bunch of sort of B to C grade recruits in. It hasn't worked for them this year. Now the discussions are obviously who will be the next coach, and part of the decision making around all of this could be factoring the way that Carlton are going at the moment.
No
Alan
doubt.
Richardson's future isn't safe. Are they just pulling the trigger early
They are.
so they can get on the front foot to get the best possible coach in? They can't get the best possible players in. They can get the best possible coach in now.
We haven't seen a great deal of coaching merry-go-round in the last couple of years, and that's a good thing. Coaches and clubs are giving opportunities to coaches who are traditionally the first ones who get sacked. But this is going to trigger something because Carlton, the murmuring is already there. So North Melbourne and Brad's got to his absolute, the class of the man. He's continued to say the entire time, I'm going to do what's for best for the club. Now, that is one, put him in a good light because he's not going out kicking and screaming, which means his future employment endeavours are going to be well and truly alive. But it also meant that at some point, if the club wasn't going right, then he's going to be on the way out. So that's what they're saying. You're right. Carlton, now I'm not saying Brendan Bolton's going, not going Alan Richardson's going, but North Melbourne, you don't want to sit around and wait until the end of the year. So what happens next is that Carlton now need to make a decision because there is going to be money at Carlton, there's money at North Melbourne. They're two pretty, and North Melbourne's never been in a better financial spot than they are right now. They could swing at someone big, and the other team doesn't want to miss out on a coach. They may have been thinking we still have a little bit of time to work on.
So my group text, my WhatsApp group is going off at the moment.
What's on there?
Which Sean Higgins is actually involved in that
Has he
in the
spoken?
WhatsApp group, and he is giving absolutely nothing. He's giving nothing away.
All right.
There's a few. So the boys are going. Farron Ray said that the reason why Brad Scott is sacked is because they got rid of him and his left foot as a weapon. The suggestion's been made that Sean Higgins' head is actually dragging the club down due to the size of it. So not too much serious stuff going on in my WhatsApp group at the moment. But my three leading candidates
Oh, no.
for the North Melbourne coaching job, I'm being legit.
All right, hashtag Armchair Experts at 7AFL, North Melbourne coaching job, which we believe will be officially vacant in 48 hours. Hit me.
Daniel G. in Syracusa, coaching VFL this year. And so he's coached his own side for a season. I think he'd be a terrific senior coach. Adam Kingsley, who everyone rates really high at St Kilda. Or if Adam Simpson delivers a flag at West Coast this year, come back home.
Okay, firstly, three really good options. I love the Adam Simpson one. You don't normally think outside the box and try and steal a coach, and they should.
Steal.
You got to swing. You got Adam Simpson and neither of us have been within the North Melbourne Football Club outside that ill-fated 7-minute meeting you had where you found out McCartney got sacked in the middle of it. But there's so much talk about the shin boner spirit. So if you're able to find a former shin boner who can coach, it fits. Simpson is one of them.
So they've got to have the spirit?
No, I don't understand it. But this is what,
You've got to have tough shins if you want to coach North.
David King wrote an article a month ago in the Herald Sun saying that essentially Brad Scott's a tourist. Now, he didn't mean that in a way as in you're doing an imposter job. It's just the fact that not necessarily being...
Your shins weren't up to it.
But you got Longmire.
Horse.
You've got Alistair Clarkson, okay? Three premiership coaches that are all under contract and probably unlikely to leave. But that's the type of swing, if you are North Melbourne, you have a go at.
It's not out of the realms of possibility for Alistair Clarkson to say at the end of this season, I'm going to go and chase a new opportunity. I can just see that in his makeup, Clarko. And he's always said when he feels like his time's up at Hawthorn, he will go straight away.
He is contracted, but there is one huge piece of that puzzle that could give him an out. Sam Mitchell is going to be the next head coach of Hawthorn.
He just rolls straight into the
So he just rolls straight in. And the moment he can say to Hawthorn, I'm going to do this, Hawthorn fans aren't going to be angry because Clarkson's probably the best coach of all time, and you're rolling in a legend of the club. So it gets softened. So fans will be like, wow, I'll get Sam Mitchell. So you move on pretty quickly. I like your idea on your first two, but I don't think they'll take a risk with a first-time head coach without an elder statesman in his corner. Ooh. Which I think, if you're going to...
G and Syracusa, Rodney Eade combination.
Well, they get on.
Yeah, they get along pretty well.
Well, it's not out of the realms.
Or you have to keep Rocket out of the coach's box, obviously, given some of his tirades that we've heard in the past.
Or Paul Roos, who was asked... Well,
please no.
Well, you know what? He said no, and then the huge offer come from Melbourne. He couldn't say no to. Now, I'm not saying North Melbourne are going to have 1.5 million to offer him, and who knows, and not even to be the coach. But you do, if you're going to go down the path of a Kingsley or a Jiren Syracusa or a Lee Tudor, who has been in a couple of years thrown up as a possible head coach in the future, I think you are going to need someone as a right-hand man in your corner to be able to help you out and step you through early days.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, Paul Roos is just a very, very defensive coach, and I want someone with a bit of flair.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. All right, Dane, 141858. Look, we said this last year.
Yeah.
Mark, Flex. Well, we love giving shout-outs, but if there's more than 4 numbers in a tweet,
Yep.
you don't give their full
Just
name.
Dane, lots of numbers.
He's gone John Longmire. MCAA7723 says Ratton, who I believe
Brett
will
Ratton.
be very highly in the conversation, but I do believe that if they don't get a Longmire, a Clarkson or a Simpson, I think Michael Voss will be the coach of the North Melbourne Football Club next year, which he agrees with.
Learned some lessons.
Caitlin Parker says Paul Ross.
That's Paul Roos.
Is that your... Paul Roos, sorry?
Not Paul Ross.
No, it's not because... sorry, I got confused because Josh Cooney,
Coondog.
77. Is that a relation?
No, I don't have any relation.
Says Longmire as well. Real Kieran says Darren Crocker, most likely.
I don't think Darren... Yeah. They wouldn't go search inside, I don't think, for a new coach. You want someone fresh. He's been in the club a long time.
Not if you're under all... They're all under the pressure.
But his voice is very familiar, and you want someone new, someone fresh, someone exciting. So, although Darren Crocker is a very, very good coach, I don't think he should get the North Melbourne
At
job.
Brad WMC says Richard Tamblyn.
Richie T.
They ought to swap with Carlton, says GG Hall.
Straight swap.
Brad Scott coaching Carlton's not out of the realms.
Don't think Brendan Bolton is sliding into the North Melbourne.
Although Johnny Barker says Visini111, who is of course at Carlton, and Victor Young says Rocket, who we didn't speak
Big Rod.
about. So
I think, unfortunately, Big Rod's coaching days are over.
now,